Guys, welcome back to another episode of Five Drinks for Midnight. You know the show. We bring the questions, guests bring the drinks. We try to wrap up before midnight. Today, we got a good one. We're sitting down with Leandro DiMonriva, the host of the Educated Barfly. But before we do, like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Thanks. Leandro, thank you so much for joining us. Five Drinks or Midnight, 5 drinks, 5 questions. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm a huge fan. So, this is the closest thing that I'm getting to, rock star royalty. So thank you so much for joining us today. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. And wow, it's high praise, man. Rock star royalty, yeah?
I mean, I'm a big fan. So, for you to say yes to do this, it blew my mind. So, yeah, thank you so much. Just to have this conversation, I can't wait. So
I'm stoked to do it. I'm happy. I'm excited for the conversation.
Thanks. I guess, first thing is, it looks like you got a beautiful drink in front of you. So what are we drinking first?
Okay, so we're drinking this Barfly Leandro DiMonriva original called a Bitter Italian. It's like the crown jewel of my bartending career, which is pretty sad because it's not like I ever came up with any modern classics or anything, but this is my bid for a modern classic, even though it's not, and it's not well known. So the Bitter Italian is just made up fully of Amaro and a little bit of lemon juice. So it's 1.25 ounces of Amaro CioCiaro, which to me, next to, I don't know, next to Nonino or something, it's the most approachable Amaro. It's not too sweet, but it's also not too bitter. It just kind of falls right in the middle right there. And then we have a little bit of Aperol to give it that bitter, kind of orangey bitter bite. We got a little bit of Maraschino that's gonna give it a little bit of a medicinal quality, which is a good thing in this drink. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I guarantee that if you don't like Maraschino, you really like this. And you'll like it in this drink anyway. And it also kind of dries it out a little bit. And then we have a little bit of lemon juice just to bring in that acidity and a little bit of that I don't know, viscosity that you get, the little viscosity you get with citrus juices.
Excellent. Well,
texture, that's what I was trying to say.
Texture. Excellent. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah, that's fucking good. Oh.
Yeah, it's crushable too, because it's low ABV, everybody. So you could crush it. You could crush 5 of these and still walk home and know where you're at,
Well, that's good because it's very early for your time. So again, I appreciate you drinking with me this early. So yeah, keeping it low. And all right. So I guess, first question, it's a bit of an origin story. We want to know, how'd you get started in the bar biz? And then how did you transfer over into YouTube?
I mean, that's a really long story. So if you want to interject or tell me to shut the fuck up, then can I swear, by the way? I don't even know if
absolutely. We are built for adults. So yeah, you're good to go.
I have a mouth like a sailor, so much so that I don't even know that I'm swearing, to the point where at one point the general manager of Kohl's came up to me and was like, I was sitting in the dining room, man, and I was listening to you talk to customers, and you swear a lot. A lot. And then I just said this. I said, listen, I know that I swear a lot. I'm aware of it, even though I'm not aware when I'm doing it. Let's just make a deal. All right. If you ever get a complaint about my swearing, I'll stop. But until then, you'll leave me alone about it. And he was like, deal. Never got a complaint. All right. So how did I get started in bartending? I got started in bartending because I came out to LA to be an actor in that kind of very cliche sort of way. It's kind of like a roundabout story, but I got very sick of auditioning and I like acting. I like being in plays and stuff, but I really hate the business side of it and the auditioning side. And I hate that hustle. And I just really couldn't bring myself to do it. And so I got out of acting. I became a production assistant in the film industry. After about 3 years of being a production assistant, which is a really rough very thankless job in a lot of ways. I noticed that I was working on all these commercials, and there's all these actors that were making like, they were making a lot of money. They were making like $400, $500, $600 a day. Plus they were getting residuals. And I was like, I can do that. So I decided to quit being a PA. And one of my PA friends had a part-time job at a nightclub as a bar back. And I was like, I need a job that I can keep my days free. But I wasn't actually really going back to acting, and like I wasn't going to go back into movies. Like I literally wanted to do commercials. Because to me, it just seems like if you book one of those, you're set for a while, So I was just like, if I could just book like 2 a year or something, I don't even need a day job. I could just do that,
Did you care what commercials you booked? So like
nope.
you did, like you could have been the face of herpes meds, and you would have been.
I could, or depends. I wouldn't have minded.
You wouldn't have minded.
Not only that, but I was working when I was PAing. I was working with some actors that were doing like there was this one guy that was like the face of Fruit of the Loom. Like he was one of the fruits in Fruit of the Loom when they were dressing guys up as
a new tea that fits like no other.
Wear them well.
We ride.
It was like a gig where he would do like 11 or 12 commercials a year. He was banking like $4 or $5 million off that one commercial. And then also he was the spokesperson for a bank that used to be in LA called Washington Mutual, which folded into Chase, so it doesn't exist anymore. But Washington Mutual had this whole series of commercials, and he was the main guy in that too. So he had these like two spots running where he was getting maybe 20 commercials a year, and these are all national spots. This guy was like a millionaire just off commercials, and I was like, if you can do that with commercials, I want in, right? I mean, best laid plans of mice and men, though. So, so I wanted to keep my days off. So this guy got me a job in his nightclub, and I started working at this place called King, which was literally just working 2 nights a week. I was probably pulling in like probably $400 or $500 a night. It's like the only, like as a single guy with no kids, just living in an apartment, it was the only job that I really needed. So I started doing that, but it started to wear really thin for me because I can't sleep during the day. Like I'm just not that person. And so bar schedules have always been pretty rough for me, but this schedule was I was going in at 9 and I wasn't leaving till 5 o'clock in the morning. Then I get home by 6 or like 5:30. And then I'd sleep till 8, and then my body would wake me up. So I was only getting like three hours of sleep a night for like 4 years. And to the point where I started having headaches. It was negatively affecting my health. It was also negatively affecting my mood. The owner of King was ex-Marine with a kind of an attitude, and me and him didn't really get along that well. And we had a little bit of a falling out, and I had to leave. So when I left there, I went downtown. I found a job at this place called Swill, which was an automatic wine dispensing machine bar. Right? This rich dude went to Italy with his wife, and he saw these automatic wine dispensing machines, and he thought it was awesome. So he bought a whole bunch of them, put them inside this space, and decided to make it into a restaurant. And I was so good, even though I knew nothing about wine and I didn't even care to read about it, I was so good at bullshitting my way through selling people wine and pairing it with food, like flavor profiles. Cause I'm just like, I don't know, like even though I try to be very, very accurate on the educated barfly, I'm a bullshit artist, dude. I come from a long line of bullshit artists and I'm very good at it. So I was just kind of spinning a line of bullshit about wine, and these people bought it. And so much so that the owner was like, "You're incredible at this job. I'm going to make you the bar manager." Well, that place ended up closing down due to mismanagement. I had a friend that was working across the street at another bar called Royal Clayton's. He had gotten brought into this place called Cole's. He was working there as a bar back, and he's like, "I'll try and get you in as soon as I can." So a few months go by, and finally I get an interview with Brent Falco, who was the manager at the time, the bar manager at the time. She hired me on as a bar back. I became a bar back. I realized that very quickly that this was like unlike any bartending that I'd ever done before. Whereas at the nightclub I was doing this, like this all night and here and fuck off, and, like doing that, for a living. This was like jigger pouring, and there was really serious cocktails. I knew nothing about cocktails at the time. But I was really good at my job. And the other thing was that I realized that the bartenders had absolutely no idea how to work at volume. So I never got flustered because I was used to having like 10 deep at the bar, and then just throwing stuff at people for like 5 hours, right? Or 6 hours. But the bartenders at Kohl's would get flustered if there were 6 people sitting at the bar asking for something at the same time, right? So I was really fast. And the other thing is that I made it if anyone wants to get in the bar industry and they want to become a bar back and you want to be a very successful one, this is what you do. Just hang on. So what I decided to do was I decided to figure out what all the little quirks of each bartender was, how they worked, what they needed during the shift, and then just make sure to keep it stocked all the time. So I would do I was that bar back that would like notice that they had, like, I would pull all their bottles out of the well and notice when they were like this much down on vodka and have a freshy vodka sitting right next to them. So they didn't even have to like ask me for it or reach around. It's just there for them. They can just grab the bottle. And I just tried to keep them in business, just maximizing our tips. The thing is that they would get flustered by these 6 people, but I was really used to having so much more. So for me, it was a cakewalk. And because of that, I got made a bartender really fast, just because I was like, then they like graduated me to pouring beers and shots just to like on busy nights, so that like these guys could focus on cocktails. And then they started slowly training me on cocktails. Then I realized that cocktails hooked into history. I'm a really big history nerd. The only A that I ever got in high school was in my humanities class because I was just super into it. So I started really researching. I found David Wondrich's Imbibe and Punch, read those books, and then I got hooked, and I started doing deep dives on the internet. At the time, there wasn't a lot of cocktails on YouTube yet, so there was a couple of guys. There's this one old guy, I can't remember his name, from some bar in Louisville, Kentucky, who would like recite poetry and make mint juleps and stuff that my friend Dave turned me on to. So I started watching his videos. I started just trying to figure out how to like just buy, like figure out where I could buy old bar books, started researching all that. And I was just super into the idea that like drinks history tied into American history. So that's what brought me into Kohl's. I stayed at Kohl's for 9 years. That was like my job. I worked at a few other bars in between, but for the most part, I was at Kohl's the entire time. Kohl's provided me all of my training, and I ended up running the bar there for 4 years, staying behind the bar for 9 years. That's the bartending story.
Well, I mean, again, that's fucking amazing because, 9 years at a place, like that is, raise a glass to that. That's fucking amazing.
Right on. Especially because like bartenders are nomadic, and it's really difficult to get a bartender to stay at a bar for 2 years. Right. Or even a year and a half, They're constantly moving. But for me, it was like home. And not only that, but it was like a regulars bar. And it's like everything that I wanted in a bar, because at the time it was like cheers with better drinks is what I was always tell people, It got to the point where I realized that the day shift was the best shift for money because you don't have to hustle. It's not super busy. You don't have to stay up late. And it's all regulars. So you bank. And the other thing is that you're the only bartender on. So it's like, so to begin with, it was like just a bartender, a bar back, and a waiter. So you just tip out your bar back, you tip out the waiter for the service drinks, and then you or they tip you out for service drinks, and then that's it. You can just walk and you're home by 7 o'clock. And when I started becoming a well-known bartender in LA, I also had my first kid. So there were nights where I was working on a Saturday night until 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd walk into my house. Tiptoe in, try not to wake anybody up. I'd like take off my clothes. I'd get into bed as soon as my head would hit the pillow. And then my wife was like,
"Your turn."
It's you, because I've been doing this. I've been doing this all night. It's you now. So then I would go from 4 o'clock in the morning at the bar, and then just basically stay up for the rest of the night, and then have to catch a nap in the daytime, which is not something that I can do easily. So I realized like I had to go to so it all kind of worked out. And so if it wasn't for that day shift, I don't even know if I would be in bartending because it was rough. It was really, really rough a little bit there. So the YouTube channel came about because I started realizing that I was rapidly heading into my 40s. I was like in my mid 30s. I had a little kid at home. I wasn't making enough money, and I wasn't like artistically fulfilled. Like I was making decent money for a bartender, but not for like a family man, And I was not artistically. I was like knocking out the same old classic drinks, and even though I was working on a shift that was slow enough that I could, I could experiment and create cocktails. Like there was just something kind of missing. So then the show Chef's Table came out. And I was like, this is amazing. Why doesn't anyone do this for bartenders? Like, bartending has now become not only a legitimate career and also something that you can turn into a six-figure career if you're smart and enterprising, but also like it's a culinary endeavor, and it's the same type of artistry that goes into it, which is a very naive thought, I know now, but at the time I didn't know better. So I thought, you know what, I want to make a trailer for a show. I want to make a show. I want to call it Drink. It's going to be the chef's table for bartenders, and I'm going to pitch it because my wife is a director, and she has a pretty big deal manager. So I knew that I could get him to get me into some production company rooms if I made a good trailer. So one of my regulars who became a really good friend of mine named Andrew, basically we were talking. I was like kind of pitching this idea, just trying to get it out in the ether, not asking for help, but just trying to tell somebody so that it would force me to do it. Because I knew that if I just thought about it, I wouldn't do it. So I was like, if I tell somebody about it, then I have to hold myself accountable and actually do it. And he was like, hey, that sounds like a great idea. I'm in. If you need any help financially, I'll help you. So me and him, we raised like $10,000, and I got together a crew, and we created this really beautiful trailer. I took it as manager. He was like, this is great. I love the concept. We got together a deck. He started pitching it around to production companies. We took a bunch of meetings with some production companies. A lot of them were like, we're very interested in this. But the consensus was like, they were like, yeah, this could get made and we could make it, but we're not gonna let you make it. So I was like, well, I'm like, I want to make this. Like, I'm more interested in the art of making it than just like getting a paycheck for an idea, if that's even possible. So we put that aside, and then Marius kind of came into it because we had known each other through production for many, many years, for 10 years. And we had always sort of been, kind of helping each other out on projects, doing little things, offloading equipment into his, he had this little studio space, and I would help him offload equipment into that, or, I help him with screenplays. At one point we were trying to doctor some screenplays that were like Norwegian screenplays that he was trying to adapt to the American market. He's always been in production as a line producer, a director, or something. And the first day of our shoot, we rented a camera. It's really nice, like an $850 a day camera called an Alexa Mini, an Aria Alexa Mini. No, Aria Alexa, I can't remember what edition, because it's an Aria Alexa. And the guy that gave us the camera didn't give us the correct mount for the lenses, so we couldn't mount the lenses on there. And Marius had asked me if he could just come by and help out, and he had brought his GH5. So when we couldn't use the camera for this whole day, and it was also like the load-in day was 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's not like we could call the guy and get the right mount. It was too early. So we had from 5 to 11 to shoot this piece inside Kohl's. That's what they were allowing us to do for free. So Marius like saved the day, basically said, you can shoot on my camera. We ended up mounting some lenses on his camera. The DP that we hired shot on his camera, and then the footage, and this is a testament to the Panasonic GH5, fit. Like once we put it in the edit and we color corrected it, you couldn't tell the difference between the footage from the GH5 and the Alexa. So it was, which is kind of cool, because an Alexa is obviously a full frame sensor, and the GH5, I don't believe it is. So we shot this thing. I don't know, where am I? Okay, so I went off on one of those little.
Yep, no, that's good. I love that though.
That's how Marius. It wasn't really a tangent, because that's how Marius got involved. So then I was like, all right, well, back to square one. How are we going to do this? And I'm not sure if it was me or Marius. One of us was like, we should just make a YouTube channel. I think it was Marius, because Marius is a big Porsche enthusiast, and so what he used to do is he used to buy up old Porsches and fix them up, and then he like knew where to go to get all the parts for like a 1966 like blah 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 Porsche, right? So he wanted to make a YouTube channel about fixing Porsches and sort of how to do it. And he had a mail order business where he was sourcing really hard to find parts and selling them on eBay to other Porsche enthusiasts. So he had like a little business going out of it. Okay. And I think it was his idea, because he had been intending to do this YouTube channel that he never did.
Ooh, sick burn.
And so he was like, maybe we should do a YouTube channel and just teach people how to make cocktails on YouTube. So I was like, that's not a bad idea. And he was like, and we, one of us was like, if we can get a large amount of people to subscribe to a YouTube channel, it might give us more power to be able to say, we're going to make this thing, or we might be able to to get an investor to give us money if we have this like people that are dedicated to watching these things. So we naively decided to get into YouTube that way. Originally, I didn't want to be on camera. Originally what I wanted to do was sort of a extension of our other idea where I would invite bartenders that I know and love and think are great and are very talented people to do the cocktails themselves and kind of tell their story. And I would be the director and Marius would be the camera guy, producer. We'd edit it together. But it didn't work out because first of all, lots of bartenders used to be actors or whatever, like, yeah, I'm really good on camera. And then they fucking freeze on the day. And they're like, okay, so let me just gonna, and they're scared of the camera. And it's hard. It's very difficult to be on camera. It is. It's hard to be natural and you're in your own voice and body. It's really difficult to do that. As you can tell by watching my first videos. My first videos were like, hey guys, this is Leandro DiMonriva, the educated Barfly. It was terrible. It was bad. I don't even know how our channel did anything because it was really bad. And I was not good at it at all. Like I really had to learn the hosting thing.
I think you're wonderful, so I disagree, but yeah.
it was terrible. I shudder when I see those videos. I cannot, even to this day, it's really difficult for me to like when I'm, a lot of times, like a Marius will make mistakes. He'll invert recipes or stuff like that. And for the longest time, we were just, you'd be able to easily find mistakes in the video because it's so difficult for me to watch myself that I would watch it once through. And if I didn't catch the mistake, now I force myself to watch it 4 or 5 times because I don't want those mistakes in there because then the comments are a nightmare when you have like, missed bitters or something in it or whatever. So that's how we got started in YouTube. When we got started, we did no market research. I had no idea what was on YouTube. I did a couple of cursory searches on YouTube, and I had no idea that there were any, like what I found was that there were no professional bartenders that had their own channel. Jim Meehan or like Dave Arnold would do like a la carte videos for Epicurious or Liqueur.com or Punch or something, right? They'd have those videos up where you have like these, very like star tenders, right, doing something. And then you had like How to Drink was out, right? So that's like a lot of enthusiasts had channels, right? But they weren't professionals and they weren't teaching professional technique. And I was like, nobody's teaching professional technique. What I didn't realize was that actually Steve, the bartender, had an infant channel, but I didn't run into it. It wasn't being pushed into my feed. So I had no idea that Steve existed. I only became aware of Steve when we started our channel, and then people started posting how similar our channels was, which was crazy because like we started our channels separately. I had no idea he existed, and yet the content was very similar. Like the way that we approached making videos was really similar. Now, Steve and I are great friends. He's a wonderful guy, fantastic, very talented bartender, and he's got a distillery which I have to go visit at some point. So now we're good friends. I mean, now like Marius and I made it our mission to be good friends with everybody that has a YouTube channel with cocktails because it should be a collaborative, non-competitive environment, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's also no matter where you are, it's a very small world. So like it seems everybody knows everybody. I mean, our connection is the guy that owns Varnish was a bartender at Little Branch. So. Which is where Whiskey Wednesday and 5 Drinks or Midnight started. So,
right. And all my training, because I worked at Cole's, which is the front bar to the Varnish, which Eric Alpern owned with Sasha, and then Eric bought Sasha out eventually, and then it was just Eric and Said Moses who own it now. Because they were the back bar to our front bar, all of my training came from that tradition.
Yeah,
that really simple. Like 5 ingredients and under, tweaks on classics, tweaking 1 or 2 ingredients to make fantastically very well balanced drinks, and then like obsessing over detail. Like all of that came from that milk and honey tradition and the Varnish for me. I mean, I'm gonna do the YouTube cocktail thing until the wheels fall off.
Question 2, drink 2. What are we drinking?
We are drinking the Old Salt, another one of my favorite cocktails. So this drink came about when a good friend of mine, a good bartending friend of mine named Jimmy McMillan, who used to run the bar at the Tam O'Shanter here in LA, strolled up to the bar. He's a regular. He used to come in before his shifts and just get one drink, and then we would talk for like 3 hours, especially on slow days. He would always ask me to make like something new. So he challenged me to make something with Wray and Nephew as the main spirit. That was palatable, and this is what I came up with. So it is 3/4 of an ounce of honey syrup, 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, 1/2 an ounce of yellow chartreuse, 1 pinch of salt, and if you're doing it right, you salt bay it over your cocktail, or you can put it in the tin, and then 1.5 ounces of Wray and Nephew. It is a very easy way to drink very high proof, 126 proof Jamaican rum. It is not overly sweet, even though when you look at when you look at the ingredients, you're like, this is gonna be really sweet with the honey syrup and yellow chartreuse, but this actually plays really nicely. Well, there it is.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm glad I'm drinking from home today. Jesus Christ, this is gonna be dangerous. Ooh, yeah, that is good shit right there.
Glad you like it.
Ah, that is good. Oh, that is dangerous. Oh,
that is dangerous. It is like one of those drinks where it's like this drink is sort of like my experience inside a tiki bar in a glass. Because like anytime I go to like anytime I went to there's this bar called Lano, which is like a kind of modern tiki spot up on Hollywood Boulevard. And every single time I go there, I get 2 drinks, and then I stand up and I like realize I can't walk because it just drank like there was at least 3 ounces of 151, whatever I drank, you know what I mean? And it was so deadly, and it's so good, so easy to drink. And then you don't even realize how drunk you are until you stand up off that stool. Yeah. That's what this drink is, basically.
That is, yeah. Oh, it's so good, but oh. I might have oversalted, but I really like it. It's so fucking good.
I mean, if you put a pinch I don't know. I guess you can oversalt, but salt really, really brings out the flavor profile in just about every single ingredient. That's why Dave Arnold's like, you should put salt in every drink. And he's kind of right.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that, but all right. Well then, that's fucking good. On to question 2. Bar changes quite a bit. Is there secret messages hidden in the back bar?
What do you mean, like this stuff changes?
Yeah.
No secret messages. Like what though? Now I wish there was secret messages in the back bar, and now I might start hiding secret messages in the back bar. But no, there's not. So for instance, I had Buzz Lightyear and Forky back here for a long time. They're not there anymore. You know why though? Because Forky and Buzz Lightyear came to the bar because my son was like, I don't want these. I'm throwing them out. I'm into Frozen now, and I'm only into Frozen, and I only want Frozen things. So I want an Elsa bedspread, and I want Elsa pillow covers, and I want Elsa clothing, and I want Anna pants, and I want Elsa and Anna shoes, and only Frozen stuff. And even Olaf can come in my room, but no more Buzz Lightyear and no more Forky. I'm throwing them in the trash. Let it go, let it go. And I said, you're not throwing those in the trash because I bought those toys and they were really expensive. I will take those toys and I will put them in my bar because I like Buzz Lightyear and I like Forky. Okay. So that was a couple years ago, right? So they've been there for a while, just sitting there, chilling there. And then the other day I had this is in a garage. Okay, this is my garage, right? So over on this side of me is a garage door. And when I'm working in here, if I'm testing recipes or whatever, I just leave it open, right? Okay. So that I can get the nice sunlight in here. Because otherwise, we blacked out the windows to the garage. So it's black in here so that we can control the light completely. We blacked out the door that's over here. So it's just like a set. It's like being in it's like we basically made it into like a studio. So like a soundstage is what I was thinking of, right? So I had the door open. I was like futzing with some recipes or whatever. I'm doing a creme de mure episode soon, which I've owed people for a really long time. I was futzing with making it and testing it or whatever, and he noticed the Buzz Lightyear and Forky, and he was like, "What is Buzz Lightyear and Forky doing in your bar?" And I was like, remember, you threw them out, and I took them, and they're mine now because I took them, and you wanted to throw them out. You were going to throw them in the trash. And he goes, no, I want them back. And I was like, well, don't get them now. We'll talk about it. And then like 15 minutes later, I'm like preparing dinner, and he's holding them both in his arms, and he's like, I took them back. So that's why that's gone. Unfortunately, I wish I could bring them back. I hope I can quietly steal them.
Quietly bring them back.
Like them back there. Yeah. But otherwise, we're constantly changing stuff back here because this wall right here that you see, this wallpaper.
Yep.
That wallpaper is brand new. This was an unfinished wall for a really long time.
Okay.
And we have this. I have half of mine to just grab the camera off my computer and switch it around to show you. But we have this big sign that our patrons. We basically sold places on the sign for our patrons. So like at a certain tier, they have the sign. So we had this hand painted sign made in the same colors as the sign that sits above the Kohl's bar that says the professionals on it. So there's a really interesting story about Kohl's and the professionals, which I'll tell you if you want to know. But we got the sign painted in the same colors of like kind of brown and yellow. And it has all of our like kind of top tier patrons on it. And we need to post it up right here. So this is unfinished for a really long time. So we are constantly taking things down, working on this wall, and then putting things back up in a different order because we never take a picture. So things move around the bar.
Well, okay. Well, then again, so no secret messages.
I think I'm gonna start doing that.
As of now, there was no secret messages. But, well, then, okay. So please tell us what's the Kohl's Professionals tie-in?
So Kohl's is a really, really old bar. It's actually the oldest public house in Los Angeles, which is saying something because Los Angeles is not a place, in my experience, having lived here for 20 years, that really holds on to its history. This guy, Said Moses, who became a bar impresario, started his business because he, is an LA native, and he was really taken with all the old architecture in downtown LA. When I first moved here 20 years ago, it was like an armpit. Like it was literally a downtown that lawyers would go to work, and it would be deserted at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and nobody ever went down there, and it was really rough and kind of dangerous. And it was like nobody actually went to the downtown area. It's kind of like, I don't know, like Wall Street in New York.
Okay.
It serves like one purpose, and nobody really goes there other than for that one purpose, right? So Said Moses saw that there was like really like a lot of opportunity in downtown, and he could kind of see the tidal wave of gentrification and development coming. And he decided that he decided to buy this bar called the Golden Gopher, which is the oldest bar in LA from 1905, one of the oldest bars in the country. And he like kind of redid it and made it into a successful bar at a time when nobody was going downtown. He made it a pretty successful bar. Then he started snapping up all these other historic bars. So his whole thing was he created this company called 213 Nightlife, which was basically buying up or leasing historic bars in downtown, revitalizing them. I'm not sure how he got hooked up with Sasha and Eric, but then he started basically taking the wave of New York bartenders that were coming to LA, because there was a minute where it's like New York is over, which actually didn't actually happen. New York's never been over. It will never be over. It hasn't been over ever since the 1800s. It's not over. But the idea was that the cocktail scene is like, it's blossomed there already. So there was a wave of New York bartenders that came out to LA, and Said was just smart enough to snap them up and be like, please run my bars and create this like kind of special thing. And sort of, he was one of the but probably the most prominent like person that was really heralding like the cocktail movement in LA, like the cocktail renaissance. That people, I don't like that term, but I don't know what other term to call it, right? It's like the cocktail renaissance. It's sort of spearheaded by him and Eric and Sasha, who kind of came out here. But Sasha was traveling around opening bars, a lot of different places at that time anyway. So okay, the professionals. I know we went off on a little tangent, but that was all in service of saying that, like, in a place that doesn't preserve its history, there was this one guy trying to preserve all the bar history in these amazing places in downtown. And then not only that, but also the Oscars back in the day used to be in these old theaters on Broadway, which then turned into, you know, a lot of like, I don't know what you call them, but like stereo appliance stores and stuff like that would like be outfitted into these old things. And his whole dream was to sort of bring it all back. So Cole's French Dip was in a building. It is in a building called the Pacific Electric Building, and that building ran the streetcars in LA for a long time. So even though it's sort of it's sort of different from what it was back in the day, the streetcars usually actually go into the top level of Kohl's and then come down a ramp into downtown and then go all over LA. And Kohl's was in the bottom half of that building. So it was like Kohl's, and then there was like a train station, and then there was like a building, right? And you know, there's been a few different owners, but in the 1950s, the owner that owned it, his son ran the bar, and is actually still a regular, I think, to this day. And they basically had this group of guys that were day traders at the old Pacific Stock Exchange, which was on 6th and Spring at the time. And they would come to the bar and drink all the time. And they became such a fixture at the bar that legend has it that they actually installed a backphone at the end of the bar that was a direct line to the trading room floor, so they didn't have to leave to work. They could just pick it up. So all of those guys that are on this sign, that are commemorated on the sign, are this group of guys. And they were like a very, very tight-knit group that drank at the bar for many, many, many years. So he created this sign called the Professionals, and he put all of their names up, just the first initial and last name. And what's cool is that at one point, around 2013 or something, we got a bunch of the surviving professionals to come. We did a little photo shoot with them. We hung out. It was a lot of fun. They told us all the old stories. They even brought old like little menus and memorabilia from Kohl's from back in the day that they had saved. Like one was like a Thanksgiving turkey shoot that they did, where they lined up something like 300 shots of wild turkey on the bar, and then everybody marked the shot. And they like commemorated it with like a little menu for it and everything. They brought all this memorabilia in. And then also over the years, as I was just working at the bar, a lot of the sons of the former professionals would come in and be like, "That's my dad." And it was just like this connection that they had with Cole.
Awesome. So
it was just like this really amazing, it's like everything that I think a bar should be, you know, at a time where like restaurants and bars like open and close, to have a place that's so steeped in not only just like history, but also so steeped in the relationships of people is like a really important place to have. It is the distilled essence of what a bar should always be, right? It's like a meeting place where everybody knows your name, where you can walk in and you know the bartender, and the bartender's familiar. There's no pretension. You get good drinks. You have a comfortable place to sit, and it's like a place you want to hang out all night. All right.
Question 3, drink 3. What are we drinking?
We're drinking a Jack and Coke Old Fashioned. So this was one, I can't remember why I made it. I think I just wanted to, I was like, oh, I can reduce Coke. It'd be kind of fun to make a Jack and Coke in an Old Fashioned. What the hell not? I think that was the whole thing behind it. So it is a quarter of an ounce of PX sherry. It's Pedro Jimenez sherry, for those of you that don't know. Quarter of an ounce of Fernet Branca. Half an ounce of Coca-Cola that has been reduced into a syrup. All so right. Bring your Coke to a boil. Once it's to a boil, lower it down to a simmer, and then reduce it to a 1/6 its size. You'll have a nice syrup. So half an ounce of that, and then an ounce and a half of Jack Daniels or Jack Daniels Rye. Works good with Jack Daniels Rye as well.
Excellent. All right. Well,
and then an orange twist, although I don't have any oranges. So
yeah, doesn't matter.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. So question 3.
Question 3.
You are a bit of a history buff. We talked a little about that in the first 2 questions.
Yep.
Which is one of the reasons why I absolutely love coming to your chat. I love the educational part. But okay, fast forward 5 years. We're 5 years into the future, and you're about to make a cocktail from 2022. What's the cocktail, and what is the history knowledge, if you will, that kind of
Oh my
relates
God,
back to the
man.
house pandemic?
Okay, so the cocktail is just a 50-50 glass of White Claw and beer with a little dehydrated orange clipped to the glass with one of those tiny clips, one of those tiny clothesline clips. That's what and what's the history behind it?
Yeah.
The history is that when the pandemic hit us, all right, it hit us so fast and hard, we had to drink our way through it. But we didn't have access to a lot of good stuff because we had to wait in long, long lines at the grocery store. So all we could really get our hands on easily was White Claw and beer. And so that's what we made.
There you
It's
go.
called the Pandemic Highball.
Excellent. We'll have to make that. It's kind of like those low the Mountain Dews is big, like kind of like
The Mountain Dews, yeah, kind of like
Right.
that. Yeah, I don't know if White Claw and beer is any good, but
yeah, who
I have to
knows?
try it now.
Now you're gonna have to try it. No, that was because again, I mean the history that you always, and I was trying to figure out like a good question that would really kind of set up like the.
Right, but you didn't realize that it was going to be just a wholly stupid answer.
No, I love it though. But, all right, well, that's question 3. So on to the next one.
All right, man, this is a robust drinking session, my friend.
Question 4, drink 4. What are we drinking?
What are we drinking? We're drinking a peach cobbler, which I just wanted to make a drink that was like a peach cobbler pie,
All right.
as close to a peach cobbler pie as I could. So I did 3/4 of an ounce of orgeat, just kind of try and get that like sort of like nutty sort of crust kind of flavor into it. So orgeat, 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, 1/2 ounce to 3/4 of creme de pêche, depending on how sweet you want it to be. Lately, I've been dialing it back to about 1/2 ounce. I think 3/4, like the original specs were 3/4, but I think it should mainly be about 1/2 ounce, and then 1.5 ounces of gin.
Okay.
You get the botanicals playing off the peach, and you get that nice, kind of texture from the orgeat and the lemon, and kind of tastes like I don't know. Fruit pies are some of my favorite food in the world, so
All right. Well,
it's only natural. Cheers. Oh yeah.
yeah, that is damn good. All right. So question 4.
All right. Question 4.
Actually comes from a mutual friend, Mickey Gristola.
I love Mickey Gristola. She's my favorite. Former Varnish bartender, genius behind the new fashion cocktail.
Exactly.
She's amazing.
Which,
Love me some Mickey.
Again, because of you, that's how I reached out to her for her to be on the show. Because again, you posted about her new fashion cocktail old fashioned mix, and I was like, can't be that fucking good. And it was that fucking good. It is actually really
it's the
good.
only powdered cocktail mix that I've ever encountered that's any good at all. It is good.
I totally agree. All right. So her question is, so you usually worked day shift at Kohl's, which we talked about in the origin story. Can you talk about the relationship of being a daytime bartender with regulars versus the churn and burn of a nighttime bartender where it's get them in, get them out situation?
Okay, so I've done both. I did the Wednesday through Sunday night shift for many years at Kohl's, many years, and it burnt me out, quite honestly. Like we said, I had little kids and I was coming home really late, and it really burnt me out. Here's the deal. I as far as bartending goes, I don't like the churn and burn. You don't have any time to be creative. You only have time to just get things out. Everything is a rush. It does make your hours go by quickly, but it's just not a lot of fun. And honestly, it's not what I like about bartending. I excelled at the day shift, and I excelled at the day shift because so it's like the difference between a marathon and a sprint. All right. In the nighttime, you're working a little bit shorter hours and you're sprinting to the finale where you're going to count out your tips and have a good night, right? And you're, going to make some good money. That's the night shift. The day shift is all about running that marathon. It's all about cultivating those regulars, you know, really fucking showing people hospitality, hanging out with people. And what's great is that it's busy enough that you're making money. Well, at Kohl's it was anyway. This is not every day shift everywhere. And depending on the culture of your bar, it's going to change. But, you know, at Kohl's, you know, it was slow. It was busy enough that I was making money. It was slow enough that I could really give everybody individualized service. And that is my specialty. You know, to tell you the truth, I have a passion for cocktails, and I'm as big a fanboy of bartenders as you are, right? I really am. We have that in common. To be honest, and this, I don't think that I'm really, you know, I don't think I'm being unfair to myself right now, and I don't think that this is any news to anybody. You know, I'm a pretty good bartender, but I'm never gonna be that guy that's like, you know, like pushing the envelope forward into the future in the bar world. That's not my skill. I'm a people person. That's my skill. I like hanging out with people. That is my skill. The hospitality part of bartending is my strength. That's where I excel. I am very particular about cocktails. I think I have a very good palate. I can make good drinks, although everything that I make, as you can see, is really in the milk and honey style, very pared down, 5 ingredients or under. I don't like to do a lot of like, you know, I'm not, making, I'm not making like fucking cocktail fucking pods that, you know, I'm not doing that stuff. You know, cocktail Tide Pods or whatever, you know, that's not my thing.
It was a pain in the ass. I tried that, so don't worry about that. Like that.
Yeah, like just like any type of molecular gastronomy, throw that out the door. I don't want to have to go to the farmer's market, throw that out of the door. You know, I think that, you know, I subscribe to the whole Rogue and Beta Cocktails theory, right? I subscribe to that, their whole manifesto, the whole idea that, it's funny, I said theory, manifesto, and idea in the same sentence, and they all mean the same thing. Just want to point that out, that I'm aware that that's how I speak. But I subscribe to the idea that you can find anything on your shelf in a regular bar and create challenging, fantastic, innovative cocktails without having to go to the farmer's market, without having to own a sous vide or like an immersion circulator, you know? I think that, and that is, and I am excited by that. But as I get older, I get less excited about the creation of cocktails, and I get more excited about the teaching of cocktails. And that's why I use a lot of other people's recipes, because I think part of the reason why we started the Educated Barfly, one of the things that we wanted to do was to shed light on some amazing bartenders that I knew here in LA that weren't getting the star treatment at Punch. You know, Punch, you know, God bless them. I love Punch. I use it as a reference. I use Imbibe as a reference, and I use liquor.com as a reference. But I gotta say, you see the same 10 bartenders in every article, all right? They have a little club, and there's a lot of people who are amazing that are not inside that club. And so I started the Educated Barfly to give, you know, I read articles of Punch. I make those cocktails. I make videos about cocktails that I read about in Punch all the time. But I also try to find those people that are not getting written up in Punch, that are amazing. You know, I wanted to use my platform to push forth their stories as well, because they deserve it. They're really hardworking. People should go to their bars. People should experience those cocktails. You know, and I'm passionate about that. It's like I'm like the Anthony Bourdain of, I mean, here I'm not so arrogant to say that I'm as talented as Anthony Bourdain, but just hear me out. I'm like the Anthony Bourdain of the cocktail world, right? I'm interested in the creation of it. I'm a fan of the people that create it. I've created it. I'm pretty good at creating it. Kind of over it now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to work in a bar anymore. I did that. It's not my thing. I may own a bar one day. You know, I'm in the middle of writing a cocktail book, but I don't want to do like that part of my life is over. You know, I kind of fashion myself like the Tarantino of cocktails, in that like I strive to have an encyclopedic knowledge of cocktails, bartenders, and bars. That's my thing. I don't know if that's a worthy pursuit. I don't know if there's any money in it, but I'm trying.
I think it is. I mean, I think we need something like that. You just dropped the bomb. So is that off the record about you writing a cocktail book, or can we keep that?
No, it's on the record. I just don't know when it's coming. I don't know. Right. Don't hold your breath, because I'm a busy guy. I'm really trying to get it out, but you can put that out there.
Okay.
I'm writing a cocktail book. It's been in the works for a while now. But I don't know. I struggled with it for a really long time because when you're writing a book, it's like, how do I write a book that's just not rehashing the same information that everybody, it's like 500 cocktail books come out every single year. I would say a very small portion of those are really unique. And I just didn't want to just like rehash the same information over and over again. I wanted to do something like unique, and I had to figure out like what that book would be. Now I think I got it. And so there it is.
Awesome.
But I'm not giving you a date. Could be a while.
Yeah. We'll keep our eyes peeled. I mean, again, I have now, social stalking cameras I've got cameras inside your garage that you don't even know about. So like,
well, that's a scary thought.
we talked about secret messages. Wait till you see.
Now you'll know. Now you know how much of a hack I truly am.
All right. So question 5, drink 5. What are we drinking? I mean,
Well, we're drinking a pink gin and tonic, so a little dash of Angostura bitters inside some gin. I'm using the 3-fold distilling gin from Steve the bartender, and tonic. And you, or if you want, you can do pink gin. You can actually do pink gin, which
that's what I did.
That's what you did.
I mean, I obviously did not understand the assignment, so I just went with pink gin. So
hey, you got pink gin. I've got pinkish reddish gin.
There you go.
It's all good.
All right. Question 5 comes down to the flip of the Whiskey Wednesday coin. You can flip it, you can spin it, you can do whatever you want, but the coin will give us the answer. You don't have to answer. Do you have the coin with you?
Yeah. Where are the coins? All right, I'm right here. Which coin though? I got 2 different ones.
There you go.
Which one do you want me to do? You want silver or you want rust?
It's all up to you. I mean,
silver. This coin is amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
To say. It is fucking awesome.
All
right, so fuck yeah and fuck no. Okay, so
question 5. We all know you're an actor. Is it true that you actually just created Marius up in your head and have actually just recorded a separate VO and changed the pitch because you didn't want to be drinking alone in your garage?
Yes, that's exactly what I did. Actually, so the story behind Marius is that Marius is the character that I created. All right, complete. And then what I did was I hired an actor that can do a Norwegian accent to play him anytime he's seen on camera. Otherwise, I get the actor to pre-record things. So I give him a script, he pre-records the answers, and then I have a little toggle switch underneath the bar. And I basically prompt the recorder to turn on and ask me questions.
There you go.
That's the truth behind Marius.
Uh,
If only it were that easy. I wish Marius was a figment of my fucking imagination. You know, my life would be a lot easier if he was.
Well, when we reached out and we were like, because again, when I was like, oh, like, will you and Marius do the show? And like, you're like, I'll do it. He won't. He doesn't do interviews. And I was like, is he real? Like, does he exist?
He's just, I mean, he said he would do it, but he's just not like, he doesn't like being on camera. But, you know, we did some episodes, like on the second channel, we did a couple of episodes where Marius tried to make a cocktail.
Yeah.
Although we only showed this much of him, like, you know, like Babish style, you know, or like cocktail chemistry. We only showed this much of him.
Yeah.
But but I don't know. He said he would do it, and then he was like, "Oh, do you want me to do it today again?" And I was like, "Oh, well, we talked about it, and you know, now like the questions are just sort of geared towards me, so you know." But you know, maybe in a future episode, if you ever have us back to ramble again, maybe we'll bring Marius on.
I would love that. I mean, maybe I would just have him on, so like that way he could talk.
Yeah, have him on by himself, and you can just talk some shit about me. And then you can find out about how frustrating I am to work with.
Well, there you go. I mean, didn't even have to flip the coin. You came clean. So
came clean.
I mean, that's 5 drinks down, 5 questions answered. I mean, fuck, that's not bad for a Tuesday. So
no, I think we're doing pretty good for a Tuesday. It's only Tuesday.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. Again, big fan. can't wait to actually drink with you and Mary as a person. So like, again, if it's either here or New York or in LA, I hope we can drink together in person and actually do this again. So cheers to you.
Cheers, brother.
Thank you
Hey,
so
thanks
much
for having me on. I really had a lot of fun. This is great. Can't wait till it comes out. And then also, of course, like next time we're in New York, I don't know like what we're doing as far as traveling goes, but New York is a place that, you know, it's easy for us to travel to. So we will definitely be there sooner than later. And we will 100% do some type of bar crawl or something.
We have to.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it, man.